ये हमारे IPS जो स्टेनोग्राफी की स्पीड मैगजीन है उसका वॉल्यूम नंबर 2 से पैसेज नंबर 4 डिक्टेशन देंगे 80 की स्पीड से। रेडी, स्टार्ट। In recent months, unprecedented rates of glacier melts have been reported both in the Antarctic and the Arctic. A massive crack in Antarctica's fourth biggest ice shelf has surged forward by at least 10 kilometers since early January, said Nature magazine in a recent article. Glaciers cover the terrain in both these regions, which have the only permanent ice sheets that still exist on Earth today. The Earth has enjoyed a more or less stable temperature for the last 10,000 years. Prior to that, there were several ice ages and periods of warmer temperature, also known as interglacials. The ice ages are believed to have been caused by small shifts in the Earth's orbit, but all the reasons for the temperature fluctuations observed are not yet entirely understood. About 5.3 to 2.6 million years ago, during the Pliocene epoch, global sea levels were close to 30 meters higher than they are today, while average global temperatures were only about 3 to 4 degrees Celsius warmer. What would happen in the current century as a result of anthropogenic climatic change remains a matter of great interest within the scientific and policy-making community. The Antarctic ice sheet is 14 million square kilometer in area and holds a large amount of frozen fresh water. In comparison, the area of India's land mass is about 1.3 million square kilometer. If all the ice cover the Antarctic were to melt, sea levels would rise by about 60 meters. Parts of the ice sheets also flow into the ocean and do so through ice shelves that protrude into the water. Several media reports over the last few months have covered the expanding rift or crack along the Larsen Sea shelf in the Antarctic, which is expected to break off at any time. Larsen A and B collapsed in 1995 and 2002, respectively. Normally, ice shelves lose mass by the breaking off or calving of some of the portions and also by melting. When such large chunks break away from an ice shelf, they speed up the collapse of the entire shelf. Since this is attached to the rest of the glacier, these processes can increase the speed at which the glacier flows into the ocean. Thus, even though the Larsen Sea collapse by itself, since it is in the water, will not raise sea levels, it will hasten the melting of the glacier it is connected to. In 2014, A principal scientist at NASA wrote that the retreat of ice in the Amsterdam's sea sector of West Antarctica is inevitable with major consequences for global sea levels, while the entire West Antarctic ice sheet may take a few hundred to 1,000 years to completely melt. The process and the resultant collapse are now recognized as unstoppable. In the Arctic, if all the ice in the Greenland ice sheet were to melt, it would raise global sea levels by about 7 meters. For the last several years, glaciologists have noticed that ice melt in the summer has increased and covers a larger area than previous years. Scientists now realize that a lot of the recent melt has been due to increasing surface melt in addition to calving or breaking off of chunks of ice. Experts have known that there are feedback mechanisms that speed up glacier melt. Exactly what these processes are and the rate by which they accelerate the melting remains an area of research. Soot and dust carried by air from various places, bacteria and algal pigments in the meltwater, any other pigments in the glacier can all reduce the reflection of the sunlight, thus increasing the absorption of heat energy by the ice. This consequently increases ice melt, which then absorbs more solar radiation, thus accelerating a feedback process. The meltwater flows into deep shafts that then speed up the flow of the glacier. But there are also other phenomena that seem to have an influence on glacier melt. Temperatures in northern Greenland have been much warmer, and in fact, surface melt has doubled Greenland's contribution to sea level rise over the period. Carbon dioxide concentrations have crossed 400 ppm in the atmosphere and are the highest they have been in the past 4 lakh years. Modeling glacier melt is very complex as it is affected by the temperature of the water, ocean currents, and other factors still not entirely understood, along with various positive feedback mechanisms that can speed up the melting. The well-known climatologist James Hansen and his colleagues published a paper last year suggesting that sea level rise is a non-linear process, and given what happened to sea levels in past geological periods, we should prepare for a rise of several meters over the next 50 to 150 years. This would imply that many of these alive today would likely see substantial increases in their lifetimes.